The Lechian dreadnought Ravager of 9 suns drifted into the outer fringe of Sol system, its hull aglow with soft amber pulsations from its ion shields. Around it, 12 escort ships formed a loose arc, their solar sails collapsed, weapons dormant. It was not a fleet in battle stance, it was a reclamation convoy, expecting nothing but atmospheric turbulence and resource mapping. High above Neptune's slow swirl, the Dominion had arrived for harvest. Inside the command throne, Arch-Salvager Vectalion leaned forward, one clawed digit tapping the edge of his bone-inlaid armrest. "Is this it?" The voice came from his adjutant, Rethk, a junior tactician bred for stellar mapping and pattern analysis. Vectalion didn't answer. Before him, holographic planetary data hovered mid-air, biometrics, mineral scans, climate signatures. Earth spun in cold isolation, its electromagnetic emissions low, static-laden, eerily controlled. Like someone was muting it. The Salvager finally exhaled through his proboscis vents. The locals collapsed in on themselves a century ago, if Dominion records are accurate. War, weather, social rot. Typical primitive spiral. And the EM silence? Rethk asked, antennae twitching. Decay. Maybe automated decay. Yet, their orbital debris has uniform drift. Controlled deceleration. Something's managing it. That earned a glance. Vectalion's narrow eyes focused on a data spike. Launch the first scout. A fast crawler. Don't engage, just orbit Pluto and ping the satellites. If anything responds, we'll know. Rethk turned to relay the order. 12 minutes later, the scout ship Alachtoon skimmed past Pluto's ice horizon, its signal dishes aimed at the lifeless void. No heat blooms. No tracking locks, the pilot reported. Ping cycle complete. Awaiting instruct. The signal cut. No explosion. No debris. No alarm. Just absence. The transmission stopped mid-sentence as though the ship never existed. On the Ravager's bridge, technicians ran scans with increasing urgency. "We lost telemetry," one muttered. "Check quantum tethering," barked another. "There's no decay trail. No heat signature. Not even echo." "It wasn't destroyed," the comms officer finally said, looking pale. "It was deleted." Vectalion said nothing for a full 5 seconds. Then, "A malfunction. Send 2 more. Flanking pattern." He rose, commanding his generals into silent readiness with a flick of his cloak. "Begin planetary insertion protocol. They want to play with illusions, let's see if they blink when we descend." The new scouts launched. This time, Vectalion watched the feeds personally. Both ships entered low orbital descent paths past Neptune, then angled sunward. At exactly $2.40, both vessels shimmered on sensors, an irregular distortion, and vanished. No sound. No explosion. Gone. This time, the fear crept in. Hours passed. Vectalion remained seated, but his posture tightened. "Is there a stealth fleet here?" he asked at last. Negative. No emissions, no signal interception. Even the background static is unnatural. A junior strategist, his skin still iridescent from youth, leaned forward. "High Lord, permission to speak freely?" Vectalion nodded. "This doesn't feel like decay. It feels like discipline." Silence fell. The hologram flickered again. This time, Earth filled the display, still too distant for full clarity, yet now haloed by a soft perimeter of light. A defense grid? No, it pulsed too faintly for anything traditional. Vectalion stood. Dispatch the Gravesinger battle group. Flank from the Saturn edge. Begin wide-spectrum radiation probing. I want to know what's behind that silence. Rethk hesitated. Should we attempt communication? With primitives? We don't know they're primitive. Vectalion rounded on him, eyes sharp. They've not built colonies. No off-world activity. Their last known transmission was an invitation to trade algae protein. And then, nothing. They fell quiet. Which means they fell. Or prepared, Rethk said under his breath. Meanwhile, deep beneath the lunar surface, a signal pulsed through a cable no alien could detect, wrapped in carbon nanosilence and older than any Dominion archive. A voice, clean and emotionless, echoed through underground networks. Unidentified stellar fleet massing in Lagrange Point 2. 3 scouts terminated. Activating Protocol Nemesis. Initiate phase delay. Delay confirmed. Primary engagement window, 3 hours. Estimated survival odds of invading fleet, 0.8%. Notify Commander Alara Miles. Notification en route. Far below, a pair of eyes opened in a cryogenic cradle. Alara's mind came online before her body did. She sat up in fluid with a gasp, wiping artificial stasis condensation from her eyelids. Lights dimmed to accommodate retinal adjustment. Situation report, she whispered. The room answered, soft and neutral. Unidentified extrasolar fleet engaged in high-orbit silent incursion. Non-responsive to passive defense net. Hostile confirmation, pending, though highly probable. She stood, muscles slow but focused. Already her mind raced ahead. Show me Earth's sky. A wall screen lit up, stars above, perfect and unmarred. Yet the sky was wrong. Too quiet. Something was blocking Earth's natural radio hiss. Artificial silence. They're muting us, she muttered. Trying to isolate the planet for clean harvest. Classic Dominion protocol. The AI responded. Correct. Recommendation, demonstrate non-primitive status through limited engagement. Leverage uncertainty. Alara suited up. Not armor. Not a uniform. Command robes. Tell the fleet. Humanity is not to speak. Not to respond. Until the first enemy ship breaks apart. She stared at the orbital map. The Thalekian dreadnought fleet was beginning to curve sunward. They think we're sleeping. She stepped toward the platform, hands behind her back. Let's wake them up. The Lunar Operations and Defense Array, **LODA***, was buried beneath the Sea of Tranquility, invisible to any scan, shielded beneath layers of lunar rock, synthetic quartz, and radiation-absorbing alloys. It had no surface signature. No heat trail. No data leakage. For most of the galaxy, it didn't exist. Inside, it stirred. Commander Alara Miles stood at the helm of LODA's central control chamber, the transparent deck beneath her giving a faint view of the Earth above, blue, serene, and completely unaware of the war inching closer with every second. Current fleet positioning, she asked, voice calm but clipped. Kellen Voss, her executive officer, ran his hand across the glowing hollow interface. 17 vessels holding formation beyond Saturn. They're fanning out, testing our orbital silence. 2 more probe signatures just blinked out 10 minutes ago. Same pattern? Same signature deletion. No trails. No escape. Alara nodded. The kill pattern had held. Silent. Absolute. She stepped forward, her boots echoing on the reinforced deck. How long until they cross the Mars perimeter? At current trajectory? 94 minutes. She considered that. 94 minutes until the veil lifted. The room darkened as the AI, **Sigma***, materialized as a wireframe female silhouette beside her. Sigma's voice carried no inflection. It was surgical, devoid of ornament. Commander, Protocol Nemesis is active. Lunar defense grid is prepped. Optical camouflage remains intact. Show me the array readiness. The schematic of Earth's orbital layer unfurled above them, like a constellation map drawn by a war god. Dormant satellites flickered to life, weapons disguised as scrap, energy siphons hidden in abandoned solar farms, kinetic rods floating in perfect silence. Humanity's defense network hadn't been disabled. It had been waiting. Have we confirmed Dominion identity? Elara asked. Yes. Vessels belong to the Thalekian Salvage Fleet series. Unmarked, but propulsion signatures match previous incursions in Sector K9 and Riven Spiral. Their purpose? Sigma paused only a fraction. Resource harvest. Life form culling. Elara clenched her fists. Then we're not dealing with diplomacy. 10 years ago, Earth was a fractured graveyard. Climate wars, AI insurrections, orbital famines. In the chaos, the stars called to no one. Then came Project Exodus, and with it, Loda. The project didn't aim to escape Earth. It aimed to weaponize survival. Kellen tapped a news stream on the console. Cloaked assets in Jovian orbit have reported visual on the lead dreadnought. They're running deep scan pulses through the asteroid belt. Probably looking for signs of movement. Let them look. Elara moved to the side console, opening a comm line to Mars Outpost Redline. Outpost Redline, status. Standing by, came the reply, static-laced and distant. Firing systems at 80%. Displacement coil ready. Engagement clock is 90 minutes. Target only their rear scouts. We want uncertainty, not escalation. Copy. We'll leave them guessing. Elara turned away from the comm, eyes narrowing. Sigma, Q Dawn Hammer. Sigma's wireframe shimmered. Authorization required. Elara stepped into the retinal scan. A quick pulse. The screen turned blood red. Authorization, Elara Miles, Omega Commander. Initiate Dawn Hammer activation sequence. Do not fire. Repeat, do not fire until my direct order. Confirmed. Charging solar net. Farther out, near Mercury's orbit, an ancient network of solar energy collectors began to shift, petals turning toward the sun like a field of mechanical flowers. The Dawn Hammer, Earth's most secret deterrent, was waking. Kellen approached cautiously. We're really doing this? Elara didn't look at him. They've deleted 3 of our decoys without a second thought. No hail. No diplomacy. We didn't start this. But we're about to finish it. No, she said. We're about to introduce ourselves. Meanwhile, on the Ravager, Vectaluan's mood had soured. 7 scouts. Gone. No contact. No resistance. Just erasure, he growled. Rethk's fingers fluttered across the Dominion control glyphs. This system is behaving unlike any other primitive nest. We've encountered decoys before, but never complete signal sterilization. It's deliberate. They're using fear. Smoke and mirrors, Vectaluan snapped. I won't be danced by ghosts. Permission to launch a full spectrum pulse. High-energy radar sweep. Something to draw them out. Do it. I want every orbital layer of that planet lit up. If they exist, I'll see them. Back in Loda, alarms flickered. High-frequency EM pulse detected, Sigma stated. Localized? Elara asked. Targeting low Earth orbit. Wavelength suggests wide-range scan. Kellen flinched. They're going to find the grid. Elara smiled slightly. Then let them look. In Earth's low orbit, several dormant satellites blinked open as the pulse washed over them. Their systems engaged, just long enough to return a false signal burst, decaying tech, overheat cascades, dying code. A trick. Designed for arrogant minds expecting weakness. The Dominion sensors return garbage. Just wreckage. Some minor heat signatures, but inconsistent, Rethk said. So we're hunting a graveyard? No, Rethk murmured. We're being shown a graveyard. In the silence, Earth's grid shifted. Elara stood over the firing console. Status of Dawn Hammer? Solar array at 83% charge. Synchronize with Mars coil. Time to impact if fired? 4.6 minutes. Good. Sigma, transmit 1 signal, low frequency, tight beam. Just one word. Sigma flickered. Content? Leave, asterisk. The beam lanced from one of Earth's disguised orbital reflectors. It shot across the system like a whisper, faint, controlled, unmistakable. On board the Ravager, a communications officer froze. Message from Earth. Finally. Play it. The word echoed once, carved into binary, sharp as a blade. Leave. Vectaluan recoiled. They speak? After all this silence? Reth turned pale. Not speak. Warn. Elara stared at the Earth through the viewing window. Begin countdown to pre-engagement phase. How long until first strike? Kellen asked quietly. 6 minutes. And if they don't run? Elara didn't answer. She didn't need to. Ravager of 9 Suns hovered in tense silence. Every scanner, every instrument, every sensor had been recalibrated twice. The message still lingered on the comms console, one word etched in silence, glowing against the void: leave. No origin trace. No encryption key. No broadcast carrier. Just a single pulse that somehow bypassed every defensive jam, every Dominion comm screen. Vectaluan stood in the center of the bridge, unmoving. Was that their greeting? He asked quietly. I don't think so, Reth replied. It was a line in the sand. Then let's cross it. His voice was calm, but even the crew heard the tremor beneath. What were they dealing with? Back beneath the lunar surface, Elara Miles watched the countdown tick toward 0. Her eyes flicked to the real-time feed of Earth's upper orbit, grids camouflaged, kinetic rods locked, fusion lances humming in silence. Sigma. Condition status? All batteries charged. Mars coil online. Dawn hammer at 97%. Earth defense net synchronized. Target acquisition. Priority mark, Dominion Dreadnought. Secondary, flanking scouts. Minimal civilian risk. Kellen stood beside her, arms folded. If they fire first, we return in kind. If they don't, we show them why Earth was never colonized. On board the Ravager, a new feed came in, raw visuals captured by a long-range drone launched without authorization. The image was grainy, but unmistakable, an array of orbital fixtures slowly shifting, aligning with mathematical precision. Geometry unnatural for a species that had collapsed. That's not debris, Reth said, voice tight. It's a weapon grid, the tech officer whispered. Camouflaged in orbital trash. We never saw it because it was meant not to be seen. Why build all that and stay silent? Vectaluan demanded. Reth hesitated. Because they didn't want anyone to know what they became. Elara took a breath. Initiate Protocol Apex. Sigma responded instantly. Confirmed. Across Earth's orbit, hidden satellites dropped their passive camouflage. Rods the size of city buses reoriented toward the void. Invisible targeting lasers locked onto the Dominion's lead ships. Deep within the crust of Mars, a vibration hummed, the planetary mass driver warming for its single use. Elara didn't blink. Begin limited engagement. Fire only on the rear vessel. From a point near Jupiter's shadow, a rod silently detached from an artificial asteroid. It didn't ignite. It didn't burn. It simply fell. Traveling at over 11 kilometers per second, the rod pierced the void and impacted the rearmost Dominion scout. There was no explosion. Just erasure. One moment, the vessel existed. The next, it did not. Whole atoms vaporized before the ship's AI could register impact. Vectaluan watched the signature vanish. That was not plasma. Not missiles. A rod weapon. Kinetic strike, Reth said, stunned. No warning. No traceable origin. They dropped a skyscraper on us at orbital velocity. The Dreadnought's bridge trembled. Officers no longer masked their fear. Sir, permission to fall back? Denied. Vectaluan's mandibles clicked. Fear was natural. But this was deeper. Back at Loda, Elara kept her eyes on the displays. Reaction? Sigma answered without pause. Dreadnought holding. Scouts repositioning. No counterfire. Good. They're confused. Let's feed that. She turned to Kellen. Activate deception relay. Make it look like we're charging a particle beam near Mercury. Let them focus fire there. It's a bluff. Not if they take the bait. 30 seconds later, 3 Dominion frigates opened fire toward Mercury's orbit, beams lancing into the solar glare, splashing harmlessly against engineered decoys. They're responding to ghosts, Kellen muttered. Exactly. The more they chase illusions, the less they understand. On the Ravager, chaos built behind controlled faces. False energy readings. We fired at nothing. They're using signal ghosts. We don't understand this species, Vectaluan admitted. He turned slowly, facing his officers. Update our standing protocol. These are not primitives. These are apex tacticians, camouflaged, precise, patient. The term hung in the air. They didn't die out. They vanished on purpose. They made themselves predators disguised as ruins. Rethk stared at the Earth, now slowly rotating into full sunlight. We thought they were gone, but they were hiding. Preparing. They didn't fall, Vectaluan finished grimly. They evolved into a warning. Elara's gaze narrowed. Sigma, time since first engagement? 6 minutes. Transmit second message. 2 words. Content? You're next. The second pulse hit the Ravager like a whisper. But this time, it carried a second layer, encrypted in the signal. A nested message, deep within. Reth cracked it open. What he saw froze him. Live telemetry. Data feeds from inside their own ships. Private Dominion fleet schematics, some only stored in isolated servers. Impossible. This is our own data. Transmitted back to us. They've been in our systems. Reading us. The bridge fell silent. Then, from deep in the fleet's sensor grid, a third scout blinked out. No flash. No shrapnel. Just absence. Elara stepped back from the display. They now understand. They're not alone in this system. Kellen looked to her. Will they retreat? They'll think about it. Then, they'll do what tyrants always do. Strike blindly. Yes. And when they do. She pointed toward the charging symbol pulsing above the dawn hammer. We remind them who Earth is. Ravager's hull groaned under internal pressure, systems surged to redline, sensors scrambled to make sense of it all. Dominion ships repositioned in a ragged formation, wounded pride barely holding the chain of command together. Vectaluan stood statue-like, mandibles tight. They're provoking us, he growled. Poking. Waiting. Rethk responded without looking up. No, Commander. They're mapping our reactions. Timing our protocol delays. Calculating. The word tasted wrong in his mouth. They're treating us like we're prey. Back on Loda, deep beneath the lunar crust, Commander Elara Miles monitored the Dominion fleet's hesitations, fractured decision trees, inefficient reformation attempts, increasing lag in command relays. All symptoms of something very human. Fear. Sigma, confirm readiness of Earth grid. All nodes synchronized. Kinetic rods locked. Orbital shields at full strength. Dawn hammer. Charged at 100%. Standing by. Kellen stepped beside her, eyes locked on the primary feed. They haven't made a move in 9 minutes. They're frozen. They're calculating how much firepower they think they can survive, Elara replied, arms crossed. And they're underestimating. The Dominion made the first move. A wave of high-energy beams streaked toward the Mercury decoys, but halfway through their flight, they split, secondary shots arcing toward Earth's upper stratosphere. It was fast. Clean. Coordinated. And it was a mistake. Incoming fire. 17 beams. Trajectory, low orbit, Sigma warned. Orbital shields, Phase 1. Mirror spin, Alara ordered. High above Earth, hundreds of thin satellites spun into a synchronized array. As the beams hit, they scattered, redirected into space, ricocheting harmlessly through empty sectors. No damage, Kellen said. They just wasted their opening salvo. Not wasted, Alara muttered. They wanted to see how we'd block. And now? Now we show them what happens when Earth shoots back. She turned to Sigma. Target lead Dreadnought. Engage Dawn Hammer. Near the Sun, a vast lattice of orbital solar collectors, long thought abandoned, shifted as one. Heat shimmers built into intensity as microwave beams converged, channeling into a colossal accelerator coil the size of Manhattan. The Dawn Hammer fired. There was no glow. No rumble. Just a stream of invisible energy flung through a folded compression field, tearing through space-time at near-light speed. In under 3 seconds, it crossed the gap. And struck. The Ravager didn't explode. It collapsed. Its front section melted on impact, fusion cores rupturing inward instead of out. Decks folded like paper under a storm. The rear engines fired uncontrollably, sending the dismembered carcass spinning into Saturn's shadow. No one screamed. There wasn't time. Alara stood still, lips tight. Damage assessment? Sigma responded coldly. Direct hit. Vessel integrity, 9%. Escape pods detected. 2. No life signs after release. Kellen whispered, not out of fear, but awe. We just ended a flagship in one shot. It was never a battle, Alara said. It was a message. The remaining Dominion ships hesitated. Then turned. First in confusion, then in panic. Retreat. No formation. No strategy. Just run. But Earth wasn't done. Lock Phase 2. Fire grid pattern Bravo. Sigma obeyed. Across the orbital field, kinetic rods launched like thunderbolts. No engines. Just mass and velocity. They didn't chase fleeing ships directly. They struck ahead of them, cutting off exit paths, forcing disarray. One scout clipped a rod fragment, its entire bow atomized in silence. Another was caught mid-spin by a satellite blade, shredding its midsection. And one, just one, made it to warp range. Before its jump system activated, it received a final transmission. A full-spectrum image of Earth. Unchanged. Peaceful. Blue. But now overlaid with coordinates. Thousands of them. Each one pinpointing a defensive platform. A kill zone radius. An orbital weapon. An invitation. You wanted Earth's resources, the transmission read. You found something else. The fleeing ship vanished into hyperspace. But Earth didn't pursue. It simply waited. In the silence after battle, Alara allowed herself one breath. Sigma. Shut down Dawn Hammer. Power down rods. Lock shields to passive. Confirmed. Kellen exhaled. It's over. No, Alara said. It started. He looked at her. You think they'll return? Not them. But the message will spread. And when others come. She turned to the window. They'll find the same thing. What's that? A species that wasn't conquered. Wasn't broken. Just waiting. A week later, Deep Space Dominion Command intercepted the sole surviving Scout's black box recording. It played the Earth transmission in their war chamber. Silence followed. Then a decision. Lock Earth's coordinates, a warlord whispered. Mark the system. As a conquest? No. Then what? A warning. Back in Loda, Earth's systems slept again. But beneath the quiet, something had shifted. humanity was no longer hiding. It was watching. And the sky remembered who screamed last.